Towson women's basketball goes 2-0 this week. We'll talk about it right here today on the Tiger Basketball Report presented by the Green Turtle. Hello again, fans, and welcome to the Tiger Basketball Report. I'm your host, Ben Rosenbaum. Towson 2 games this week, one against non-conference opponent Chestnut Hill, and then a big one this past weekend against James Madison. Towson goes 2-0, and as always, I'm joined by the head coach of the Tigers, Diane Richardson. And Coach, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
And a successful week, 2-0 against Chestnut Hill and then James Madison. Chestnut Hill, a non-conference game. I think everybody kind of got why you scheduled them when you did.
Yeah.
Kind of just to keep the team, from being rusty before James Madison.
We didn't want them just being off for so long without some, game time energy.
And you get what you want out of that game, a big win for you guys on the scoreboard. A lot of players get some time to play, and you got to work on some things. Did you get what you wanted out of that Chestnut Hill game?
Yeah, we did. Obviously it kept us and kept our legs moving, but there were some things we wanted to work on, and it was our movement. And, as you could see last night, it kind of worked for us.
And yeah, so you welcome in James Madison. For anyone who didn't know, Towson is victorious, 76-75. Melo Jeter laying with just a few seconds left to secure the win, and then a defensive stand. But let's start before the game.
Okay.
Before the tip, you have an absolute animal in Kamaya Small. She's a baller.
Yes.
That whole team can fill it up.
Yes.
They're led by Kamaya. How do you approach scouting a team like that, game planning for a team like that?
Well, as always, we game plan to try to stop their best player. But, Kamaya is such a dynamic player. It's hard to stop her. She has so many moves and so many go-tos. But we wanted to contain her. And not only did we want to contain her, but we didn't want somebody else stepping up. And Benitez, again, the second leader scorer, we wanted to stop her as well.
And Kamaya, you had, I don't know if it was by design or if it's just kind of how it happened, 2 different main defenders on her, it seemed like, throughout the night. Primarily, it was Q Murray, it seemed at times, and then it was also Melo. I was surprised to not see Nakia. I think at the end of the game, Ryan took her, maybe, but I was surprised not to see Nakia on her. Was this a matchup that Melo and Q wanted? Did they want Kamaya?
Yeah, and, and when we talk about speed, Q and Melo are probably our best in terms of speed and being able to keep somebody in front of them.
So you mentioned Benitez. They also have Lexi Barrier, Kayla Cooper-Williams. You kind of have to be ready for any of the 4 of them to go off. And I said pregame on the broadcast, Towson needs a complete game. We've had a lot of players have really good games, like singular individual games, but we've yet to have a Nakia and Melo and Q game, or a Nakia, Melo, Q and Ryan game.
Right.
You needed that, and you got it. Starting off with Nakia, 19 points in the first half, propels you to a 20-point lead. Talk about Nakaya's play.
Yeah, she was very confident coming in. Again, our ladies were up for this game. We knew it would be a tough game. It was pleasing to me as a coach to see the confidence. And, when you see a tough team like that coming in, sometimes there's nerves and jitters, but Nakia came out just scoring at will and was very confident in her shot.
Kayla Cooper-Williams picks up some foul trouble early, has to sit out for the rest of the first quarter and most of the second quarter, really. You build a huge lead, 21 points at one point, and you attacked the paint as soon as Kayla Cooper-Williams went. You finished with 38 points in the paint.
Right.
Was that the game plan? As soon as Cooper-Williams went out, it seemed like a flip switch, and you guys were heading right inside.
Yeah, and when you don't have a shot blocker like Kayla Cooper-Williams in there, then you try to attack and try to use your advantages, and we did that. And we got to the rim, and we got to the line, and all that.
And then let's talk about Melo, 27 points for her, 7. And Nakia had a double-double as well. Forgot to mention that.
Yes.
Melo, 27.7 rebounds, hits the last shot. For you, Rashad and I were kind of debating it going into that last timeout. Is it Nakia or is it Melo? Who did you want? Did you want Melo to have the ball, or was it kind of an option play for Q?
Well, it was actually an option play, and it wasn't, and Melo, veered off from the play because she saw an opening, and she went and took it to the rim, and those are the kind of things you want your players to be able to do to take what the defense gives you.
There's been a lot of talk all CAA, or all season long, all preseason long, who the best player in this conference is. Everyone talks about Kamaya, and Melo gets her light as well. And it seems like Melo really turned it on to be playing in a marquee matchup against the supposed best player in the conference. She answered the call that night.
She definitely did, and she's so capable of doing that game in and game out. And hopefully she'll continue to do that the rest of the year. But she's a talented young lady.
And then one person before we go who had, I think, her best game of the year so far and much needed was LaCaitlin Wright. She was outstanding defensively, offensively, a lot of easy buckets. You didn't need her to go off for 25 or anything like that, but she did what she needed to do, and she made JMU think about it inside.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's something they weren't used to, JMU, and she definitely stood her ground in there. She got some great rebounds and scored some points as well, so they had to defend her.
All right, and the first CAA win is in the books. Towson will hit the road this week to take on the College of Charleston and UNCW. We'll preview those games next time on the Tiger Basketball Report. For head coach Diane Richardson, I'm Ben Rosenbaum. Thanks for joining us, and as always, go Tigers.